Hello students, Ms. Slyman here, talking to you about expected value. So expected value is here on our syllabus, and expected value is it's what you expect to get. So let's look at this as an example. So we've got 5 marbles in a bag. The marbles are labeled A, B, C, D, E. 1 is drawn and put back. So the probability that we get an A is, of course, 1 out of 5. So if we perform this experiment 50 times, how often would we expect to get A? Well, every 5 times we'd expect to get 1 A. So in 50, we would expect 1/5 of those 50 to be A's, so we would expect 10 A's. So we'd expect 10 A's, 10 B's, 10 C's, 10 D's, 10 E's. Yeah. Would you get the number of A's every time we perform the experiment? Well, we've seen that with our dice, and we would not get the same number every time because experimental values and theoretical values don't always match up. But if we perform the experiment many times, so we drew 50 marbles 10 times, that's a total of 500 marbles, we'd expect 1/5 of those 500 experiments, so we'd expect 100 A's to come out. And the more experiments we do, the more likely our theoretical and experimental will match. So here we would say no, theory and experimental do not always match. In fact, they rarely match. Do not always match. But the more experiments we will perform, the more likely we are. So if we look at our probability simulator, we can do this actually. So you can go ahead and perform this and see what happens. So each of these represent 50 trials. Yeah. So let's do this. So follow along with your calculator too. And we're going to stop by going to the ProbSim app. If you don't have this app, come see me so that you can get it on your calculator. So apps, I only have a few, so it's easy for me to get to ProbSim. You might have to scroll more. And yours might look a little bit different, but it'll be the same. It should still have the same values. So I'm going to pick marbles and say OK. And I've got 5. I want to set how many I'm going to pick at a time. So my trial settings I want to be 50. I want to do 50 trials at a time. Okay, I've got 5 different marbles. I want to graph the frequency. I don't need to store it, so I can say OK. And now let's pick. Okay, so my A value, use my right arrow, I can see that I got 7 A's. So in my first experiment, I've got 7 A's. Oops. Okay, experiment 2, I want to clear my data because I can either clear my data or I can get my total from 2 experiments. So after running 2 experiments, I've got, let's see, 16 A's. So that means I got 9 new ones. So this is my total number of A's that I've got here. Okay, with experiment 3, keep going. Now I've got 27. That's 27 out of 150. Now I've got 36 out of 200. And remember, each time I'm thinking that I'm going to get 10. Yeah. So every time I pick, I think I'm going to get 10. I got 7 here, I got 9 new ones, then I got 11 new ones, so I got 9 new ones, so I'm getting about 10 every time, but never exactly on 10. Now I've had 250, I've got 44. Okay, so we're gonna pick 300. So I expect 1/5 of these, that's gonna be 60 is what I think is gonna happen. It's only 53. But notice that now my bars are getting pretty close to each other. I imagine the more that I pick, the closer these bars will get to each other. So 66. By this point, I feel like I should have 70 would be my expected value. All right, now I've got 74. And I've got 84. So that does mean I got 10 from there. That's a nice one. And now I said that my expected value is 100. I think I'm going to end up under it because we haven't been picking as many A's. So in our theoretical probability, these bars are all going to be the same height, but experiments and theory are not always the same. So your numbers are going to be different than mine. The average number of times we got an A in 50 picks. So our average number of times we got an A in 50 picks